dive into the world of advanced technology where automation can help us to make things faster and safer. Learn how businesses are using hyper-automation to do tasks better, prevent problems, and keep their digital information absolutely secure. Welcome on board Mr. Vignesh Chandrasekharan, CEO and co-founder of Vault Infosec. We are so happy to have you in our midst, sir. Please come over to share your rich thoughts. Please give him a big hand.
Once again, welcome you all to the session. Very good morning.
Good morning.
Can you give me more energy? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. So, I'm Vignesh. I'm the founder and CEO of Vault Infosec. I'm here to share my knowledge on hyper automation. So, I know there will be many expectations on in your mind about hyper automation. Can you just give me some examples of what you think about automation? What do you think automation is? Whatever comes to your mind, just share it. Reduces manual effort. Yeah, without manual intervention, right? Any other example?
Repetitive tasks.
Okay, reducing repetitive tasks. Cool.
Reducing errors.
Reducing errors. Cool. Increasing operational efficiency. Good point. Thank you.
Consistency.
Consistency. That's a nice word. Thank you.
Using artificial intelligence.
Using artificial. Who said that? Okay, that's a buzzword, and that has become, a good marketing word. No, I'm just saying it very generally because I see if you are a product company, immediately you have to say that, hey, I use AI. If not, my product is going nowhere. Customers are not interested to, have a product which does not have AI. And even in most of the demos, customers are not evaluating whether what AI does in the product. But still they want AI. So that becomes a marketing word automatically. All right. Thank you for bringing that point. And any other?
RPA.
RPA. Oh, wow. That's cool. All right. So let's get into the session. So when there is automation already, when we have automation already, what do you think is a need for a hyper automation? Then what is hyper automation? So we say it is automated. We say we have done the entire thing using automation. Then are we really doing automation? Can we say it is automated? For example, I run a tool. Without my intervention, can the tool decide what is false positive? Can the tool decide how to take it forward to the next level?
Yes.
And that's where hyper automation comes into the picture. So hyper automation is one level ahead of automation, where it helps you to further make your decisions based on what the automation result is. So automation does not, for example, you have an automation structure for your organization for any particular process per se. What you do is from step 1 to step 5, you have a sequential execution. But dynamically will the application or the process that you have built, will that be able to understand whether it has to jump off to step 3 after step 5? That dynamicity is not there. That is where we are adding intelligence on top of automation to bring hyper automation. So that is the difference. So the exact difference is adding intelligence on top of automation is what hyper automation does, by which you are able to reduce the manual effort and also ensure that entire process is automated. So there are many companies who claim that we do end-to-end automation. So when you say end-to-end automation, is your automation capable of spinning up an environment and giving for an assessment? If that is being done by manual, then it is not end-to-end automated. If you are running a tool, that is not hyper automation. So what is the need for hyper automation? So here the topic is how we can be agile when we need to shift the security to the next level. So the first point that we need to consider is in 2022 alone, there was 10% increase in the data breach. and 82% of the breach happens due to manual error. And the cost of one breach is $4.4 million. It's not million, it's $1 million. So how an organization would handle the situation, how an organization can, what are the suffer that an organization goes through, how we can be at the pace of the business and also ensure the security. So that's where hyper automation comes into the picture. We are saying digitalization, we are saying we are getting into digital era, we are in our own organizations, many things that we have done in paperwork, right now, am I audible right now? Yes. I thought, that's what they are saying. So, many instances where our organization wants to reduce the reduce the paperwork and get into a digital mode, automate all the processes, but still we are in a mode where we aren't able to be 100% there. Or sometimes we are not able to cope up with the speed of the business, where the execution of the business is faster than our expectations of the execution of the cyber security requirement. In product companies especially, they want to release a feature every week. This cyber security is faster enough to say or give a go ahead for every feature that they deliver. So minimizing the effect of being vulnerable, minimizing the attack surface is something that we are achieving. To enhance more than what we are minimizing, that's where hyper automation is going to be a Alright. Based on, this is not prediction, already we have incorporated hyper automation in many forms. There are tools like SOAR, EDR, Next-Gen Firewall, which already has some integrations of this whole hyper automation. It is in bits and pieces where we can enable it, and we can integrate each and every tool according to the organization requirement and ensure it is a holistic picture where we protect against the cyber security events. So as of 2022, it was below 25% incorporation that happened, and we are foreseeing by 2025 it will be 70% incorporation of hyper automation will be there in organizations. And based on what tools are we using, based on what each and every tool incorporating the hyper automation technologies, it is very, very seamless, and it looks like the manual way of vulnerability assessment penetration testing is no more. The only one difference that I used to say to my customers is, see, automation tool does a dynamic fashion and it does not understand manual effort. But hyper automation solves for it. It has intelligence to know what we are thinking. It has intelligence to induce the same payload in the particular point in time and ensure the same output is being cascaded. So that's where this is going to change the game of cybersecurity. So benefits of hyper automation, without being said, improved security posture because it is seamless, it works in agile environment, it ensures the security is being taken care on the go, and rapid threat identification because day by day we are getting threats. On a daily basis there are many threats are being generated. How we are ensuring those threats are being identified? Because we use different tech stack and different products that we manufacture. So when we have different tech stacks, how easy it is to identify threats on each and every area of your product or network life cycle. So that's where this hyper automation is going to give hands. Reducing human errors. So someone told me about there is a human error, right? So how it can reduce, because we are going to structure and create a process in the automation such that it is going, I'm not saying there will not be any flaw in your hyper automation. There needs to be someone who needs to monitor, concretize and take it further beyond. But once you set up the process, once you say this is what you can expect from the automation, and once the program itself learns from your past vulnerabilities and so on and so forth, then that is going to be a perfect platform for you to have agile cybersecurity setup for your company. Scalability and efficiency are, without being said, this hyper automation is specifically used for scaling environment and increasing the efficiency. Proactive against defense. So this is where organization are marching towards, right? Previously, we wanted to identify vulnerabilities. Now we wanted to be proactive in stopping vulnerabilities before it reaches your organization. That's why we use next generation firewall, where it automatically detects a malicious activity and it creates a rule and then blocks it. Instead of being me specifying a rule and say, hey, if some rule matches with this rule, just block it. So that's where the technology shift is happening, and that's where hyper automation is going to give hands. Now, speaking about hyper automation, let me tell you 4 major components that plays a very major role in hyper automation. First one is artificial intelligence. So we all would have heard about artificial intelligence, but why artificial intelligence? Can anyone help me with why artificial intelligence? The one word that she mentioned was decision making. So artificial intelligence helps you in decision making, which your legacy automation did not provide. That's where this company AI plays a very major role. What is machine learning? Machine learning by itself is not intelligent. Machine learning learns from the data that is already set up in your platform. For example, how many of you use Netflix? Thank you. Once you watch a movie in Netflix, it automatically suggests you in the same genre next time, right? So how this happens? This happens via machine learning. So Netflix learns from what is your interest. Netflix learns from what it should recommend to you, and it provides you that proper recommendation in your Netflix account. So there are other capabilities like natural language processing. How many of you use ChatGPT? Only few. I'm surprised. Okay. So ChatGPT is a AI-enabled bot where you can ask anything and it will give you response based on your ask. It is an advanced level of Google search engine where your searches are very confined. For whatever questions that you ask, it will be answering very particular to those questions. So how this happens? I'm Vignesh. Let's assume my vocabulary is very poor and my grammatical is very, very poor. Even if I ask this question, like how automation works, how hyper automation works, ChatGPT will give me a very structured answer and it will tell me like how this exactly works. How this happens? It is because of natural language processing. So it's an AI powered tool, but natural language processing is a technology which helps you to understand the user perspective and change that into a machine understandable language. So it's not a binary conversion, but a language translation, and it has capabilities to understand our sentiments. That's why this is predominantly used in chatbots. So most of the machine language AI and the NLP is being consumed in chatbots. So to have a realistic chatbot give you the proper response as well as it can be empathetic. The only reason why as a service delivery center we have a call center to speak to our customers, right? Why do we have that? To bring that empathy to our customers. Something that human can bring and machine cannot bring was empathy. Even that is possible if you use all 3 combinations. So AI is the superset, and machine learning and the natural language processing are the subset of the AI. So this is how it is structured. Next comes the robotic process automation. So this is an important, very important technology which replaces the way testing happens. Previously, the testing happened where you would have heard about Selenium, Java Selenium, where you provide the test cases, it automatically tests and gives you the result. This is purely an application robot, or a bot which helps you to interact like a human with the digital system. So you define your criteria of interaction, it interacts the very same way, and it will give you the result. So the quality assurance or the vulnerability assessment is going to be much faster, very seamless, if you integrate all these technology as part of your process. I'll give you one case study. So, how vulnerability assessment penetration testing happens today? So that will be, okay, any data which I'm projecting is not in the internet, it's not a default page or whatever. It's been customly developed inside our organization. This is something we are coming up with. I'm projecting that research over here. So when it comes to vulnerability assessment penetration testing, the first thing is you prepare an environment. We are performing vulnerability assessment over the years. Like it's been 8 years in our journey, and we have been doing assessment continually. But whenever there is a requirement of an environment, we used to ask the customer, or let's take internal team. There is an internal security team that you have, and they used to look for a DevOps or a IT team who can provision the environment to them and the credential to them, so that they can initiate the assessment. Once that is done, the reconnaissance, mapping of attack surface, vulnerability, identification, exploitation, and reporting happens. The whole engagement on an average takes 4 to 6 weeks for us to complete the entire cycle. If we shift the same thing via hyper automation, the first creation of environment and even the rotation of credentials or creating a default credentials for every test environment can be automated using RPA. The second, reconnaissance happens by AI. AI brings in the intelligence piece which was missing in the machine learning and the natural language processing. With the help of your older data, the vulnerabilities can be run using RPA, and it can also fetch the intelligence from the AI. Once that is done, even the prioritization, that is very major concern in an organization from a senior management standpoint, right? So that would be like 15 or 20 vulnerabilities identified. What I should address first is something an AI takes a decision. So AI, as she has mentioned, AI helps you in taking the decisions. So that decision will be very key to your organization. For example, let's say cross-site scripting, a very common attack. It can be high, medium, low based on your organization, based on your product. I cannot say cross-site scripting is always a high or a SQL injection is always a high. What is the impact that it creates, and what is the frequency or ease of exploitation? So based on which I will define a criticality. So that mechanism can also be fed to an AI to understand what is the impact and decide to fix that critical items first. So that is where we are heading towards. So the efficiency is measured in this manner. The vulnerability assessment usually takes 4 weeks for an organization to execute and get a validated report. So you run a tool, that's a different story. You run a tool, you do a manual assessment, you eliminate the false positive, prepare a detailed report. So that scenario takes 4 weeks at least if the assessment is in depth. The same thing you can achieve it in 1 day. The reporting takes only a couple of hours, and if you ask me whether we are witnessing this phase we are already witnessing with our customers. So the assessment, the vulnerability assessment that we take for 4 weeks is currently being done in 1 day. If you ask me about penetration testing, this is not the case. And still we are working out on penetration testing. We are not yet there with hyper automation. It requires a lot of intelligence to be fed, and we are working on it. But based on one execution piece, we strongly feel this is highly possible. And that's one reason I just wanted to bring this to everyone notice and hear your thoughts also. So, based on whatever we have spoken till now, there is one clear understanding that hyper automation works on top of automation. Do we all agree to it?
Yes.
So it cannot act as an individual piece, it acts on top of an automation piece. Why? Can anyone tell me why? So first it has to produce result, it has to run. Then we can apply intelligence or make the machine learn. So that's the next step. Now, as an organization, we are in the roadmap of automating things. So how to automate the time-taking process, and then add what's a missing piece to further reduce the time. That's where our journey is. So I'll just share our journey. So on cyber security front, we have automated all these areas, especially threat modeling. How many of you have done a threat modeling? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. If you take a threat modeling, on an average, how much time it takes?
Couple of weeks.
Sorry?
Couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. Great. That's actually true.
You spent enough months, which I think you know.
You have spoken earlier, yes.
Absolutely.
Any other cases? People from the last? Alright, thank you. So, sorry? More than a month? Wow. Alright, thank you for your response. So, it actually takes at least couple of weeks to give a clear picture about the architecture. And there needs to be a security architect at every point in time to tell you what's right, what's wrong, and there needs to be a detail, because the architecture is only there. It's like irukku ana illa, that kind of a scenario. That's not there, but you're going to tell how or what are the possible threats that are going to come. If this is the case, just imagine how much time you need to invest. This threat modeling, we have solved it using our own product called Threat Expert, which actually gets the eventual database from the CWE and KPUP and feeds it directly into the product. Whatever components that we use inside your architecture will automatically recognize the component and the level of threat that each and every component has, from one component to another component, how it is traversing, whether the measures have been taken in those transactions, everything it will assess. It will give you the result within a minute. So this is the level of automation that we have done. It's not a hyper automation, let me put it clear. It's an automation that we have done on threat modeling. Next comes the threat intelligence. There are many products in the market, there are many open source. Yes, but what is a missing piece here in threat intelligence is how it can learn, and for example, for performing a threat intelligence, there are many phases, many tools, many techniques, but going from one technique to another, how are we connecting dots? So that is the story. So we integrated many open sources as well, and we added our own intelligence to the threat intelligence product, such that if I give your company name, it has capability to bring back thousands of results about your organization based on how much data it is exposed, and it will give me the complete picture in a report. It is not false proof. Currently we are working on it to make it automated such that I don't need to work on the report at all. Right now it gives me true positives and many false positives as well, where we were able to witness in the last 1 year, we were able to witness about 50 GB of data, customer data. And there were many sensitive informations that we have identified through our own internal product. Reporting is a challenging task. How many of you have done reporting on any site? How many of you have worked on reporting? How much pain do we have in documentation? There might be thousands of efforts that you put in your assessment. You do one mistake in report, you are done, right? So that is the importance of a report. So it's not that how much I prepare, it's that how much I deliver, right? So this gives us more cushion for us to test. So if I get a customer and I say I will give you the assessment within 2 weeks, then 3 days I have to spend in reporting. now we are spending 2 hours for reporting. So this is the level of transformation to automation that we have worked. On a compliance, okay, there are many, I believe this will be interesting to you. So in compliance, as and when we face customers, we understood that what are the difficult path that a customer is going through. The first thing is gap assessment. So organizations who have multiple compliances, let's say ISO 27001, SOC 2, PCI, HIPAA. So when this is in your plate, the audit alone or the audit preparation alone will take you a quarter or 2, right? So you have to constantly be with the team, helping the team, providing evidences, helping the team, hearing from the auditor on what is required. Different team will say different reasons. You have to, play around it, and it will take at least 1 quarter or 2 for you to complete all these audits. So we have generalized the framework. We have the basis ISO 27001 2022, and on top of it, we have built framework such that all unique controls are being asked once, and all common controls are being asked once, and the unique controls have been asked for each and every compliances. Because of this capability, as an organization, you can do gap assessment once and know what is your gap against 4 different frameworks. So not just that, the policy generation for every control that you provide the response, based on your provision of response to that particular control, the policy is automatically written in our document, and it is subjective to change if you wanted to change, and policy procedure is all subjective to change. We all know it, right? So we give the provision for the customer to edit and work on their policy and procedure and change the version based on approval, and there is a maker checker available. So internal audit, our internal audit can be done in 60 seconds because there is already a gap assessment done. There is already the artifacts have been fed for each and every control. All you are going to do is just run the internal audit, and it will cross-validate and give you what is compliant, what is non-compliant. So reporting is also gap assessment report, internal audit report. These are very seamless, and you'll be able to witness that in the product. Okay, now I come to challenges. I believe many of you have these challenges as your question. See if this is getting you solved. So the first question is technology is very, very diverse. Even we face the same challenge. Our first product is Angular and second product is React, and it both is in Python Django framework. But still, when we automate certain stuff, it is different. There are many things that we need to consider due to this change in the tech stack. Second is scalability. Scalability is highly available, but for example, he mentioned about change management. So having change management and other processes as your barrier, how are you going to scale at the pace at which it has to scale? Third is skill requirement. Obviously, there needs to be high skilled person who knows how AI, ML, everything works and how it can accommodate your particular process. Finally, there are a few other things like change management, vendor capabilities, and security concerns. Okay, security concerns. Let me tell you about security concerns. You already have a set of tools. On top of it, you are building something to integrate each and every tool together. So this is another piece that you are introducing to the organization. Again, an attack vector. Again, a new piece that you have to validate and then incorporate. So security concerns is also there. Sorry. Security concerns as in workflow automation. So, how many of you heard about SOAR? Security orchestration. Great. So, in SOAR, we define the workflow, how it has to perform the particular assessment, or how it has to manage the incident, what if the incident happens, so on and so forth. So on the high side, on SOAR, RPA, AI and machine learning comes into the picture. So when we use those technologies, we need to define how the workflow is going to work. If we are not clear about how the workflow will be working, it will be hard for us to feed the right mechanism inside the product. So this is the compliance platform that we are currently working with, and our aim is to bring the compliance and technology together, where for example, let's take ISO 27001. So people, process and technology piece, where people and process is different, where technology is also being integrated. For any technological requirement, you can still use the product to ensure that technology is being taken care via the product. So that's where we are heading towards. So we as an organization are exploring hyper automation for this particular goal, and we are in the process of achieving it. Yes, over to you.